News in detail now. The U.S. Supreme Court has granted former President Donald Trump limited immunity from prosecution for official acts taken while in office. The justice's ruling on Monday by a 6-3 margin means a potential trial into his alleged attempts to overturn the 2020 election is delayed even further, a major boost for his 2024 presidential campaign. DD India's Benji Hire sends us this report.
This is a landmark ruling from the Supreme Court coming at a politically fraught time in America. The court holds that a former president, in this case Donald Trump, but this rule would apply to all, has absolute immunity for core constitutional powers and a presumption of immunity for official acts, but no immunity for unofficial acts. What does this mean exactly? Well, it'll now be down to lower courts to actually decide, but justices have weighed in on the matter, saying that some of the acts that Donald Trump took as part of his alleged attempts to overturn the election outcome of 2020, those would fall under official acts. His inciting of his supporters to march down to the heart of American democracy, which then descended into that deadly riot we saw on January 6, 2021. Justice is also implying those come under official acts too, and therefore under this ruling Donald Trump would be immune from prosecution. The main outcome from what we've seen on Monday is that the real distinction, the decision between official and unofficial, without getting too much into the weeds, that now goes down to lower courts, and that decision will take some time, in effect pushing a potential trial, another criminal trial for the former president, beyond the November 5th date that Americans would go to the polls. That has been met with elation and relief, unsurprisingly, from Donald Trump, who calls this a big win for the Constitution and for democracy. There is dismay, however, from some of the liberal justices on the bench who say that this makes a mockery of the principle that no man is above the law. They fear that it could set a precedent in the future, that a president could in effect be immune from ordering the assassination of their political rival. Meanwhile, Joe Biden's campaign claimed this changes nothing, that Donald Trump's actions in the lead up to and on January 6, 2021, none of that has changed, and they insist that Joe Biden's re-election campaign will continue to highlight that Donald Trump is willing to do anything to gain and to hold on to power for himself, and that the American people have already rejected the former president. Biden's campaign claims they will do so again, but polls are not looking in his favor. We're, of course, coming off the back of a very troubling debate performance from Joe Biden, and this ruling will reinforce Donald Trump's narrative that this is a witch hunt, according to him, against him and his political allies. Meanwhile, the special counsel, the main prosecutor overseeing this case for the Department of Justice, Jack Smith, he so far has declined to comment. Benji Hire in Washington, reporting for DD India.
And US President Joe Biden has strongly criticized the Supreme Court ruling, calling it a dangerous precedent that did a disservice to the American people.
Each of us is equal before the law. No one is above the law, not even the President of the United States. With today's Supreme Court decision on presidential immunity, that fundamentally changed. For all practical purposes, today's decision almost certainly means that there are virtually no limits on what a president can do. This is a fundamentally new principle, and it's a dangerous precedent, because the power of the office will no longer be constrained by the law, even including the Supreme Court of the United States. The only limits will be self-imposed by the president alone.